Hello, everyone. This is Tom Fox back for another episode, and you are in for a treat today. Why? Because I'm in for a treat. Because we have Marika Flatt with us. Marika, first of all, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. Happy to be here.
She has a varied career. She's got a lot going on, and they happen to be things I love talking about. So who knows where all this is going to go? But I'm going to start by asking Marika, what are some of your current gigs, if I can say that, and maybe your professional background that led to them?
Yes, absolutely. So, PR by the book is my main gig. It's been around over 22 years. We are a book publicity firm. We handle primarily book launches for authors and publishers. And we are based in Austin, but we pretty much cover coast to coast. Our clients are coast to coast, some are international here and there. And that's a lot of fun, keeps us very busy. And we have a team of about 10. And then my side hustle slash passion project is Texas Lifestyle Magazine. I started travel writing back in 2002, actually, the same year I left my former job to put all my time and energy into PR by the book. I had the opportunity to start doing some freelance writing. And it was actually the year that Austin Woman magazine launched. And that was my first writing gig. And I was just thrilled to do it because when in college, I was headed down the TV track. So I was doing all of my internships, getting all of my experience. I wanted to be a TV reporter. I did a lot of journalism. I did a lot of writing. And so when I got the chance to start freelance writing, it was just so much fun. And I kept up with that for years, over a decade, until I had the chance to be a part of the team that took over a previous magazine and turned it into Texas Lifestyle Magazine. So that was exactly 11 years ago that we did that venture. I stopped freelancing at that point and started putting all my writing time into Texas Lifestyle Magazine. Those two things keep me very busy. I'm also the mom of three, and my caboose is graduating high school next month. So I'm in that stage and category of parenting.
So, with Texas Lifestyle Magazine, one of the reasons that I was so excited to visit with you is it seemed to overlap what I'm trying to create in the podcast format, which is lifestyles in the Texas Hill Country. You
Mhm.
talk about the different phases, forms, types of lifestyles you cover.
Yes. When we transitioned the previous publication into the statewide magazine, so for years it was Austin Lifestyle Magazine, it was a monthly print publication. And I was brought on to write travel for them initially. And so everywhere I would go outside of Texas, when I was there to cover it for the magazine, people would say, "Oh, Texas is such an important market for us." And so that just gave me a light bulb moment of why aren't we expanding for the whole state? We have a lot of pride in this state. Texans love our state. We love most of what goes on in our state. And in and of itself, we are a collective personality. And so that was where the light bulb came for me. And so when we did that transition, we wanted to cover food, wine, beer, travel, lifestyle, entertainment, personalities. We've had a series that we call Texan of the Week, and really just combine all of our tagline is everything that makes living great in the Lone Star State. So all the fun stuff. We didn't want to compete with some of the other magazines that were already out there that were covering some of the more serious topics. We wanted to talk about everything that makes living great here. Yeah, we come across all types of fun personalities. Texans, we work hard. We are innovative. We are creative, and we're all different, which makes this state full of all types of personalities and people living different lifestyles. Yeah, that's kind of where it blossomed from.
Let me turn to the topic of the Texas Writers Month. Can you tell us what that is and
Mhm.
how you hope to lead literally the celebration for this month?
Yes, I'm super passionate about Texas Writers Month. When I was a baby book publicist, I started straight out of college in the late 90s. Texas Writers Month was a big deal. It had a board, there were grants. I don't know if you remember, but literacy was a big push for Laura Bush when she was the first lady of Texas. And so she was very involved. And so there was just a lot going on during that time frame. And then fast forward, let's just say about 10 years or so, and it would come up in conversation and I would say, "Oh, yeah, remember May is Texas Writers Month." And nobody knew what I was talking about. And so it had gone dormant for so long. And around 2017-ish, we decided we were going to pick up that torch and carry it because it was an important awareness for the people of our state to be able to appreciate the writers here in our state and those that are published authors and support them because we've got a lot of great literary giants here in Texas, but we've also got a lot of really hardworking, lesser known writers. And so we just decided that was just going to be one of our pro bono projects that we were going to do. And we've been pushing it ever since. And I'm out there talking about it and waving the flag and reminding people in the community, the book community, that it is Texas Writers Month in May. And I ask people, what can you do to share the message? How can you continue to promote and support Texas authors? And Tom, you are definitely helping to lead the charge in that arena. So I love that. And we have a mutual friend that introduced us. And when I started listening to your podcast, it was near and dear to my heart because there's a lot of authors around Texas that kind of feel like it's a little bit of a thankless job. And it's so hard to promote a book and it's so hard to rise above the noise. So when we can support our Texas authors, that's great. I was on the committee for the Texas Book Festival for years and had to give that up when we launched Texas Lifestyle Magazine because something had to give. But, now this is what I do, my volunteer effort to promote Texas Writers Month.
Do you or we have any upcoming events tied to the celebration?
So a lot of independent bookstores around Texas do some special events throughout the month of May. And so if listeners are looking at a particular Texas indie store, find their calendar, they will be promoting Texas Writers Month and hosting events with Texas writers. There's a lot of media outlets that are doing their part to interview Texas authors and help get the word out about that. I'm doing some myself. And we're really trying to make sure that the reader community around Texas, those readers that we love, those buyers and consumers, get introduced to new Texas authors that they haven't read before.
All of this leads to what I really wanted to talk to you about, which is PR by the book.
Oh, yeah.
Because as you've already said, I love talking to authors.
Mhm.
And our mutual friend, whose company sponsors this podcast, Stony Creek Publishing, publishes authors. You help them get their words out and their message out. Talk to us about PR by the book.
Yeah, so we work across many different genres. So fiction, nonfiction. We do on the nonfiction side, we do a lot of memoirs. Some of those cross over into health and wellness. We do a lot of that, parenting, children's books, business books. On the fiction side, currently we have everything from thrillers to women's fiction, other genre fiction. And normally what we're doing is we are working on a runway of anywhere from 2 to 6 months prior to a book's publication date. And we've got a strategy in place for getting the word out to our media friends that the book is coming. And then that campaign typically will go for at least 2 months after publication date. And the name of the game for us is media exposure. So we're looking for book reviews, we're looking for podcast interviews, TV segments, online reviews and articles and mentions. And we do influencer outreach. We help authors with their social media. And most of our campaigns are this buzz build up that we get so excited about for our books and our authors. But there are some books that we work on after publication date where in these situations, the author just didn't know what to do on the promotion side. And they worry, they think they missed the boat. But we'll talk to them, we'll figure out what's important to them, what are their goals. And if it's a good fit, we'll come up with a strategy of how to help promote them after the book has come out. So it's a lot of fun.
I live in a rural part of West Texas. And so it's been interesting to me to see authors come through Kerrville, come to a Fredericksburg, come to a Bernie, and try to market their books. If authors want to try to reach a rural market, is it word of mouth? Is it social media? Is it in person at the library? Is it, if the town's lucky enough to have a bookstore, is it all of the above, none of the above, or other of the above?
I like to think of it as a lot of those things that you just mentioned are pieces of the promotion pie. So they're all important, some more important than others for certain authors or certain genres. In this day and age, a social media digital component is very helpful. We work with some authors who they're just at the stage of life where they have no interest in social media. They don't want to learn it. They don't want to spend their time on it. And that's okay. There's other ways. There can be a piece or two missing out of the pie if needed. But all of those things are components to look at. And of course, every author is different. Every book is different. I will tell you, in this day and age, it's very difficult to get people to come out to an in-person event. So back when I started, that was the big deal. Like you were going to have a massive book launch party, a lot of publishers, because keep in mind, this is before the rise of self-publishing and hybrid publishing. So all books were traditionally published back in my early days of book publicity. So these publishers were sending these authors on this multi-city book tour all the time, and people were coming. But now it's different, and people's time is very valuable. And it's really hard to get people to come to an in-person event. What has replaced that is, let me just first clarify, I am a huge advocate of a book launch party locally for an author in their community, whether it be Kerrville, Fredericksburg, any other community, to have a party, a celebration, and invite your friends and family, because it is a celebration. So I'm a huge advocate of that. That can be a good call to action for their local media. But in addition to that, doing live stream events through various social media platforms is helpful. Influencer outreach to target people that are within your arena of topic, who are out there, who have larger followings, getting them to be buzzing about the book. That's important. And there's very little left of print media anymore. But the online digital media out there is so robust and it's so valuable. It's the viral ability of any of those media, what we call media hits, is great because people can share them through their social media platforms. And it's just a great way to make sure that you're getting the book out there, you're building up your name recognition, you're building up the recognition of the book title, and you're building that brand. So the answer to that question is that there's a lot of different promotion and publicity and marketing components that fall into a great, very successful book launch. And marketing is very different than publicity. So marketing typically will be handled by the publisher, but if people are self-publishing, then that's going to fall on them. So marketing, you can think of marketing as paid promotions, advertising, whereas what we're doing is classified typically as earned media. That's just an industry term. And so they're all important components and they all play a part, some more than others, just depending on the genre and who the author is.
Marika, this podcast is the Hill Country Authors Podcast. and you're a hill country girl.
I am.
So
Yeah.
I wanted to spend some time exploring that with you and tell us about growing up in Bandera and really how being a hill country kid and young adult helped shape where you took your professional career.
I love that question. So we moved to Bandera the summer before my first grade year. We moved from Mississippi, and my mom still lives in that same house. So we go back whenever we can and visit her. It's kind of like our tranquil escape. She has a wonderful patio where we could just sit out and listen to the birds. And so we're city people now in North Austin. So we love that. I will say, when you asked me that question, one of the first things that I thought about is one of the biggest thrills in my journalism career was when the Bandera CVB commissioned me to write an article for them for Texas Monthly. And that was many years ago, but it still shines bright for me in my heart of journalism opportunities that I've had. I love being in Bandera. I love being in the hill country. When we were growing up there, if we needed certain things or we wanted certain entertainment, we were going to Kerrville or we were driving to San Antonio. Or Bernie was just at the stage when I was growing up there that it was getting some things for us to go do and see in a grocery store, a bigger grocery store. So I graduated from Bandera High School. And when you just asked me, how did it shape me? This is a great thing to reflect on because I am a hill country girl at heart. And so I really value that small town community. I'm a connector by nature. I love connecting people that can help each other. And I grew up, Gen X, we laugh about now as just simple times. We spent every day down swimming in the river, the Medina River. We just spent time with our friends. We walked home from school as elementary kids. And so I just have so many great memories of just growing up with a very simple life and making our own entertainment. And Tom, this is a great thing for me to reflect on too. I loved reading. So I loved checking books out from the library. I was a frequent visitor to the Bandera County Library, and I would get my novels and I would curl up on my bed and loved reading. And I think not being in a big city and not having all the, let's just call them distractions that you might have growing up in a big city, I read a lot. And that is where my love of literature. And when I discovered book publicity straight out of college, I just thought, this is the perfect job for me. It blends books and media. And these are the things that I love. And so, yeah, I really do think that growing up in a small town and in the hill country really helped shape a lot of my values and some of my personality.
Many authors, I would say, and I probably should include myself in this category, think it's just sitting down and writing. And they may have to overcome that fear. But when they finally write it, that's just one piece of the book process. And you come in after the book is finished or perhaps while it's being created. But how do you help a young or an aspiring author understand your piece of the pie of the promotion after the book is published?
It's so important because an author really should be thinking about how they're going to be promoting the book when they're writing it, because there's things that they can toss in to a storyline or to the topic itself that they know that they can utilize that in promotion. So let's just say maybe that's something that they can add in that will latch on to a timely tie-in. A timely tie-in is something like Texas Writers Month or Get Caught Reading Month or Stress Awareness Month, Mental Health Awareness Month. Those are timely tie-ins. And so it's important for an author to think about those things. And also, Tom, I kind of get on my soapbox about this with publishing dates, because in publicity, there is a strategy to when a book should come out. and as it relates to publicity and promotion. And sometimes if people are self-publishing, or I come across this a lot, if an author is with a really small press that's just really getting books out very turnkey, that sometimes there won't be a strategy around the publication date of a book. It'll just be based on, when can we get it done? How quick can we get it done? And that's not what's going to set you up for success in the best way, because bringing out a book the first week of December, maybe that's not how you're going to get to be able to promote that book in the best way. So you really should be thinking about that. And also, another important component of this is that another reason why authors should be thinking about publicity and promotion early on is that, number one, sometimes they need to invest in it. So they need to consider what money they're going to invest in promoting the book, hiring a publicist. And number two, just kind of gearing themselves up. You said about the author behind their computer writing. Yes, there's a lot of writers and authors that are introverts, and they're very happy behind their computer tapping away and writing their story. Maybe not so comfortable being interviewed by you on your podcast or on a TV segment or any other way that they can be out promoting the book. And so sometimes they need some help, some training. At PR by the Book, we've developed a media training course that we give our authors as a welcome gift when they start with us. And it's just basically, and I think it's around an hour and a half of tips and suggestions and things that they need to be thinking about before they get in an interview situation. And so there's a lot of reasons why somebody should be thinking about promoting their book very early on in the process.
We're near the end, but before we get there, I have one question I'm dying to ask you, which is your favorite Texas author or book.
I'm going to put a shout out there for one that I just read that is actually coming out. Brian Cranley is a Texas author. He lives between New Braunfels and San Antonio area. And he has a book coming out, The Call of Wonder. He is being published by Greenleaf, which is they're based in Austin. They're a hybrid publisher. And I just finished reading that recently, so that's top of mind. And it's a really fascinating look at how faith and science have always been seen very separate, but how there's some really interesting ways to be thinking about how they blend together. And so I found that fascinating. He is an Aggie, so I'm an Aggie too. And he actually went to study at a Catholic seminary after college and ended up deciding that wasn't the route he wanted to take. He's in a totally different career, but it's a fascinating look. But we have so many great Texas authors. Another one of my favorites is Amy Daughters. She lives near Houston. She wrote a novel called You Cannot Mess This Up, which is one of the most hilarious novels I've read. And I think it especially appeals to those of us who are Gen X. But she tells a story of what would have happened if she went back as an adult to her life when she was a young girl. So it's fiction, but it blends. I'm not big into time travel, but there is a time travel component of this story. And then she also wrote nonfiction that I absolutely love called Dear Dana. And that talks about how she hand wrote a letter to 580 of her Facebook friends a couple of years ago, and what the results were of that process. And she wasn't looking at it as an experiment, but it was definitely something that was avant-garde, basically blending social media and the past of us writing letters, how we used to write letters to communicate. So she took something that was completely on the opposite end of the spectrum from writing a thoughtful handwritten letter and turned it into something very interesting and offered a lot of hope to people through her handwritten letters. Those are some Texas authors that are just kind of near and dear to my heart.
So unfortunately, we now are at the end of our time, but I wanted to ask you if our listeners wanted to connect with you, find out any more about PR by the Book, Texas Lifestyle Magazine, or perhaps even the Texas Writers Month, what might be the best place or places for them to go?
So they can go to prbythebook.com. That's our main site, which also links to a DIY promotion site that we offer as well, which is author2influencer.com. So PR by the book or author2influencer.com. And then our super fun Texas magazine can be found at texaslifestylemag.com. And we are on every social platform, Texas Lifestyle Mag on all of our social platforms, PR by the Book on all the platforms. And then we'll be sharing a lot about Texas Writers Month through our social media. We would love to have people come to the magazine and be a newsletter subscriber. So we send out a newsletter twice a month of some of our favorite articles. And you might see us on TV around Texas as well. I do TV segments for several different TV shows around Texas.
Marika, this has just been way too much fun. I hope we can continue this conversation.
Yes, thanks, Tom. Anytime.